Hello everyone and welcome to an English lesson for the first grade high school students. In today's lesson, as a part of living environment, we are going to analyze and discuss environmental problems and solutions in our everyday lives. You will recognize the causes of environmental problems, suggest possible solutions using modal verbs, as well as analyze the ecological impact of tourism on tourist destinations. For this lesson, you will need your notebook, something to write with, and a smartphone or a laptop with internet connection. In order to do some exercises, you will have to pause the video. When you see the pause button on the screen, it will be your signal to pause the recording in order to do some exercises. We'll start this lesson with some environmental vocabulary that will be used today. You can practice the pronunciation, spelling, and the use of new words using this quiz. There are a lot of different exercises and games you can choose from, or you can do all of them. It's up to you. Just scan the code or copy the bit.ly link and quiz and have fun learning the new vocabulary. I'm sure you're quite familiar with these words now, and it won't be a problem for you to use them in your own sentences. Pick 5 words and write your own sentences or even a dialogue. Be sure to include some of the words that are new to you. Once you're done, check your writing with your virtual classroom teacher. You must have heard of Michael Jackson, but are you familiar with his work? He is famous for producing socially conscious songs such as We Are the World or Heal the World. They are always accompanied by great music videos. Earth Song, released in 1995, is no exception. You will have to copy the bit.ly link NJ-Earth or scan the code in order to watch the video and answer the following questions. Read the questions first, watch the video, and after watching the video, make notes on what you remember. Let's compare our answers. The video is about the destruction but also rebirth of Earth. As for the regions where the video was shot, you must have recognized the Amazon rainforest, Africa, and maybe you guessed that one part was shot in Croatia during Croatian Homeland War. The problems the video addresses are deforestation in the Amazon rainforest, poaching in Africa, animal cruelty in the far north, war in Croatia, pollution, and poverty. In the end, the Earth is reborn with the help of some higher power. The last question is personal. I hope you think there is still hope for us. I certainly do. It is your turn to be creative now. You are going to write an acrostic poem, and it is going to be about the environment. If you can't remember what an acrostic poem is, let me remind you quickly. It is a poem where letters in each line spell out a word or phrase. Typically, the first letters of each line are used to spell the word or the phrase. My task for you is to write a poem in which the first letters in each line spell the title of Michael Jackson's songs we have just talked about, Earth Song. There are a couple of things you should bear in mind while writing the poem. First, each line can consist of a verse, or it can be just one word. Secondly, the topic of the poem is environmental, so you should use some of the vocabulary from the Quizlet we did at the beginning of the lesson. Or you can get inspired by Michael Jackson's lyrics. Also, try finishing with something positive. There is still some light at the end of the tunnel. You have recognized some environmental problems in Michael Jackson's video, but there are more of them which I'm sure you're aware of. The text you're going to read is about environmental problems. Your task is to read the text and pick 12 problems you think are the most serious ones. Write a note or two about each of the problems you have chosen. If there are any words unfamiliar to you, check their meaning and pronunciation in a reliable online dictionary. You have an example for pollution here. There are 3 types of pollution: air, water, and soil. And number 1 pollutants are industry and exhaust fumes from motor vehicles. Scan the code now or copy the bit.ly link environment problems and do the task. All the issues mentioned in the text are global, but our responsibility besides global is individual as well. In order to make changes, we have to ask ourselves, what can I do? What can my community do? Brainstorm your ideas into the notebook. There are different solutions to environmental problems. The famous 3 R's. We can, for example, reuse plastic bags, reduce the use of plastic packaging, and recycle batteries. We can also save energy. Switching off the light when leaving the room is an easy thing to do. We can use renewable energy instead of fossil fuels, something like solar panels, wind turbines. Also, instead of driving alone in a car, we can share cars, cycle, walk, or use public transport. Another thing we can do for the environment is plant trees and help wildlife. There are so many little things that can be done. How many have you thought of? Check your answers with your virtual classroom teacher. How would you give advice or make suggestions on how to help the environment? How would you express our obligation towards the environment? Would you use some of these words? Modal verbs. If you wanted to give advice or make a suggestion, which of these modal verbs would you use? So when we want to suggest something or give advice, we use ought to, should, or shouldn't. We just need to put these modals in front of the verb and the meaning immediately changes. Instead of saying, turn off the light when you leave the room, we can change the sentence into an advice by simply using modal verbs. So, you ought to or you should turn off the light when you leave the room. We can also use the negative form. You shouldn't leave the light on when you leave the room. Which modal verbs can be used to express our obligations? Must, mustn't, and have to, of course. So, we will use must, mustn't, and have to stress that something is our obligation. Have to and must are very similar in meaning. Must is more personal. We must be more active locally in environmental projects. This is what I feel. Have to is impersonal, it's more general. You have to recycle if you want to be environmentally responsible. That's a fact. Of course, we can use the negative forms as well. You mustn't throw plastic bags into the sea. There are two more models to introduce. Can and cannot. We can use them to say what we are able to do in order to help the environment. You may say something like this. You can reuse glass bottles in order to produce less litter. Or, you cannot leave the water running while brushing your teeth. It is your turn now. In this quiz, you will use models in order to talk about our obligations or give advice on environmental problems. This will be a piece of cake for you now, I'm sure. Copy the bit.ly link, moda.ka, or scan the code and do the exercise. In the activity called Environmental Island, you will combine your knowledge about habitats, environmental problems and solutions, and model verbs. You will turn a tourist island into an environmental island. The drawing part can be done with a pencil or you can use an online tool, Autor. It is very useful and easy to use tool. You can pick Auto function from the menu, and once you start drawing, it will recognize what it is supposed to be and offer you some ready-made drawings. After drawing an outline of a tourist island, add all kinds of places and features you think should be on the island. Tourist attractions, transportation, buildings, markets, landscapes, weather conditions, animals, plants, and so on. When you finish drawing the island, think of environmental problems this tourist island might have, and then give solutions in the form of advice using model verbs. Check what you have written with your virtual classroom teacher. Have fun with the task. And your last activity. Which 3 things have you learned today? What are 2 things you would like to learn more about? And what is the one question you still have? Send your answers to your virtual classroom teacher. This is all for today. Till next time, goodbye.